All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Patrice Davis, and I'm going to start off by asking you a question that I'm not sure if you've ever heard before. I came across this today and I thought it was hilarious, but also makes quite a bit of sense for what we're going to talk about today. And it is more no equals more dough, right? So the more you know, the more dough you're going to get, the more money you're going to get. That is not my saying. I actually came across this on a website called, what is it? True IC Startup Savant. So I just thought it was very, it was definitely the appropriate, I think, saying for what we're going to talk about. And that's really how, the 6 books that really helped me triple my income, the income in my consulting business and in some of the other activities that other businesses and other things that I have, other business activities that I have. So, first, if you don't know me, my name is Patrice Davis. This is your first time you ever clicked on any of my videos. My name is Patrice Davis. I am the founder and CEO of GrantsWorks, and GrantsWorks is a grant consulting company based in Atlanta, Georgia, and we provide a number of grant related services. No, we are not just grant writers. Those are just a few of the people who work in the grant space. A lot of people just know about them because they just know grant writers. There are actually grant managers and grant administrators, and that's what we do. We provide services as grant writers and grant administrators. If this is the first time, if you're interested in learning more about how to launch, grow, or scale a consulting business, I invite you to subscribe. That's all I talk about here on this particular channel. The different things you can do to make sure that your consulting business is ready to grow, ways to attract clients, the ways to structure your services, the ways to structure your pricing, automation, all of, many of the things that one would need to consider if you are launching, growing, or scaling your own independent or freelance consulting business. So definitely subscribe if you're interested in that. Now, I do want to make sure that you are aware that all of the books that I describe here are going to be listed in the video description. So make sure that all of them are going to be listed below. They're all going to be linked to where you can easily click and buy them on Amazon. And just so you know, if you do decide to purchase them on Amazon, that is because for many, many years, I have been a participant in the Amazon affiliate program that does not cost you an additional money if you decide to purchase it through that link. It just means that whenever you purchase it, I get a small amount of each purchase. So I just want to make sure that you're aware. I do also want to make sure that I want to hear from you. I do a lot of talking, I think a lot, during these lives, but I want to hear from you. Please start dropping in the chat your name, where you're joining me from, and what are some of the books that you really enjoyed, the books that really helped you stay motivated, the books that helped you say, you know what, I want to go all out with whatever it is that you may be attempting at the time. Definitely want to hear what are the books that motivate you, or the books that are on your list that you know what, I have to read that book. I know it's going to be the one that helps take me to that next level. So here's what we're going to talk about. The name of this video is The 6 Books Helped Me Triple My Income. These 6 books helped me triple my income. I was supposed to record this about 3 weeks ago. But as I noted to the people in my community, and if you want to join the community, just go to readysetgoconsult.com and join our mailing list. And every week I send out an email, sharing a tip, making sure you all are aware of the lives that I do every Thursday. But I sent an email to my community letting them know, hey, I had this planned 3 weeks ago, but I had to go to an industry conference. And when I was packing, I was thinking, wow, I'm already bringing 3 books. So there are 3 books that I'm always reading. I'm always reading 2 or 3 books at a time. So either I'm going to pack these 2 or 3 books that I know I'm going to need to keep me fortified, or I'm going to pack 9 books in order to do this live. So I couldn't pack the additional 6 books in order to make this live happen several weeks ago. So here I am making sure that I stick to my word. I always stick to my word. It may not happen every single time the way I plan or by the date I plan, but I definitely try to stick to my word. That's just how I'm built. All right. So part of the reason why these books helped me, really, really, as I said, triple my income is because what they actually did was they helped me Number one, really think very carefully about what I deserved, what was possible for my business. And all of that was because I started understanding that what I deserved, I needed to be very clear about what I wanted and what I deserved and how to make it happen. And a lot of these books helped me get to that point. The other thing was that they helped me figure out how it was possible and what was possible. And when you see some of these titles, you'll probably understand why I say that. And also what I deserve, what was possible, and what was the actual goal that I wanted to achieve. So I don't know about you. When I first started my business in 2020, I didn't really think a lot about how much I wanted to make. I just knew I wanted to replace my job, and I didn't want to have to go work for anyone anymore. Those are my goals. I didn't think, oh, I'm going to go into business and I want to make X amount of money. I want to be a multimillionaire and I want to do this and I want to do that. I just hadn't thought that big. I hadn't thought that big before. It wasn't until I was already in the business and I started realizing, oh, I really can earn X amount of money. There really is no ceiling to how much I can earn in a business. There is definitely a ceiling to how much you can earn as an employee. And we know that, you may get hired, your salary is $85,000 a year. You know that next year, your company is going to probably give you an opportunity to get a 3% raise. That 3% raise on top of your 85,000, as you know, is about $2,500. So now your ceiling is about 87,000 and some change, and you may get a small bonus that year. So the max you may make that year is about, let's say 88, 89, 90,000 in that one year. As an employee, as an entrepreneur, those ceilings don't exist. There is no ceiling on how much you can earn as an entrepreneur. And that's why they say that entrepreneurship is one of the best ways to wealth. It's about one of the best roadmaps to wealth, because if you find a product or service and a target market that is willing to pay you, that market is big enough, your prices are aligned enough, there is no ceiling to what you can earn. And that's why there's so many millionaires, multimillionaires, and even billionaires in the world, because they have found something that there is a willing, able, and a willing and able market, and they market to that target market. And I don't know if that makes sense, but they sell to that target market. And as long as they're able to meet the demand, right, whether it's a service or a product, they can keep bringing in the money. So my thinking is that reading, in addition to actually learning as I was running the business, is what helped me understand that I could actually aim for a certain amount. In other words, my goals not only were, okay, I need to do this for the business, I need to create a website. My goals became financial, right? And these books help me meet those financial goals. So just wanted to kind of lay that foundation. So I do want to make sure I point out an article. It's a 2016 Pew Research report. And basically this report, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I cite it for you. Report that the affluent are twice as likely as the poor to read books. I don't think we're surprised by that. It shouldn't be a surprise at all. One would think, okay, well, they have more access, they have more leisure time, right? So we probably shouldn't be really, really surprised about that. Maybe they have access to, I'm hoping I didn't lose you guys. Let's go back here. Maybe they have access to, bookstores in their community, or, libraries, where the actual, so there are all these things to consider. And certainly they have access to more disposable income, so they can buy more books if they want. So that's not a surprise. But there is no doubt really that books can change your life. Sometimes it's for escapism. Sometimes things are going on. You want to read a nice little fiction, or it may not even need to be fiction, and it's an opportunity to just kind of zone off and go somewhere else. But it's also an opportunity to learn more about yourself by reading about others' experiences, and even books about a topic you're interested in exploring. So there are books written all over the world about so many different topics that you're definitely going to find something that piques your interest, or something that you really want to explore, because maybe you're dealing with something you want to understand it from a different point of view or from a different angle. And so a book, I don't care if it's an audio book or a paper book, can sometimes help you get to that, help you get that deeper understanding you're looking for. So again, I'm not going to, I'm not going to talk about whether a book versus an audiobook is better, but I'm just going to quickly talk about some of the benefits of reading according to a group called the 95% group. So some of these won't surprise you. I'm asking you to stick around because my list of books are coming up. And that final book, I actually have it as a surprise. It's not really on a lot of folks' lists, but it's on my list. And I'll tell you exactly why it's on my list. Let's talk about first the benefits of reading. Number one, it improves your critical thinking skills. If you're an entrepreneur, you need to be great at critical thinking for a number of reasons. Whether it's from engaging a person on a sales call, whether it's engaging a client, whether it's trying to propose maybe a solution for a client that wants to come back, and you just really, so there are all these ways that critical thinking is important for you as an entrepreneur, and reading helps you improve your critical thinking skills. It builds your vocabulary, but they say authentically, right? So I've been doing a lot of reading and writing recently, and as a result, I find that I'm not kind of tripping myself up trying to remember a word as much because I'm using my brain. My brain is firing all of those synaptical, if that's the right word, connections are firing a little bit quicker than is typical. I know when I'm tired or I'm not using my brain as much. So that makes sense. It enhances your conversation skills, not a surprise. It strengthens your cognitive process and builds background knowledge. That makes absolute sense as well. And of course, it reduces stress. For some people, reading is the way that they unwind at the end of the day, or maybe that's what they do at the beginning of the day. And I'll tell you a little bit about not just the books that I've read, but my morning routine and why it's been beneficial for me. And of course, it helps you build and maintain memory. Hey there, Greg. I enjoy any books by Dr. Myron Golden. You are so right. I haven't read any of his books yet, but I have seen him speak live and I've watched a number of his videos. He's amazing. He's amazing. He's got an unbelievable, I'll say, way with words because he knows he uses a lot of, he's just great. He's a great speaker. And that's part of the reason why he is as successful as he is right now. He's got a book called From the Trash Man to, I don't remember the name of the book, but he's doing really well. And you guys, just in case you're, curious, he's out there. You can certainly find his videos. Especially his book, Boss Moves, also David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, all books by Dan Kennedy and Jay Abraham. Those are some of the many. Yep, he is the man. There we go. Okay, so thank you, Yo Astro. Now I know your name, finally. Thank you so much for letting me know that. And books, of course, help you build and maintain memory. Trash man to the cash man. That's what it is. And all of that, like the trash man, cash man, is a lot of wordplay. And that wordplay is what keeps you engaged. It keeps you human. It's humorous to a certain extent, but it also helps to drive the point home. So the man is an excellent communicator. And I saw him live, and I'm telling you, seeing him live is even more amazing because he's animated and he lays it out. I mean, he was amazing. I saw him at the Return on Investment conference in Puerto Rico last year. And after he spoke, I think I was just done for the rest of the day. I was just done. All right. So I'm going to give you now the benefits of reading as an entrepreneur. Any other thoughts? Any other books? I haven't read any books by Dan Kennedy. The name sounds very familiar. Drop one of the titles of his books for me. That would be great. Or any books by Jay Abraham. They both sound very familiar, but I just can't remember their books right now. Benefits of reading as an entrepreneur. It helps improve your speaking skills. Many of us as entrepreneurs, some of us are very content sitting behind a desk, getting that work done, providing the services, creating the widgets, selling the widgets. And we're good with that. Others understand that, I wouldn't even say they understand. Others want to actually also earn money as speakers. If we are experts in our field, we can continue to provide the services and create the widgets, right? But we could also earn money as a speaker. And I've talked about that in one of my previous videos when I talked about ways to earn money as a consultant outside of just providing services. Benefits of reading as an entrepreneur is it helps you understand others' mental states. Again, you can navigate relationships. You can become a better salesperson. In other words, you can sell your services, your product, your company, your solutions better because your ability to understand where other people are coming from, you understand different perspectives, and as a result, you're able to go toe to toe with them in a way that keeps the conversation flowing, keeps you on top of your game, and helps you achieve the goal that you're trying to get to, which is to sell that service, right? You get to learn from the best, and that's one of the reasons. That's the reason I read. One of the reasons I read. I want to learn from other people. I still have a lot to learn, and so I want to read from the people who have done the things that I want to do in certain areas of their lives, so I can improve that part of my life as well. Right? I want to be a better writer. You all know I write all the time. I write blogs for my consulting business. I write blogs for the Ready, Set, Go Consult website. And I have some plans for those blogs, right? So, and then of course it increases your cultural and historical knowledge. Who couldn't do better by knowing a little bit more about some things culturally or historically, because it helps you understand different contexts. And so, none of that it should be a surprise. I'm going to add to that. Again, it helps you think about what you really want to achieve and what's possible. Think about goal making, how to make goals to achieve them. You learn from the authors some things, some of the challenges they went through to meet their goals. You learn from them some of the steps they took to meet their goals. And so it all becomes more real. It's not just conceptual. You're reading an example of a person who achieved a certain goal, or a goal that you're that you're interested in, or maybe related to a goal you want to achieve yourself. And it's great to be able to read the words of a person who experienced the same thing, or accomplished a similar goal. So I'm going to get into my top 6 books. I've been talking. Let me get into my top 6 books and why. So I'm going to go over here. I have them all laid out here, and I'm going to make sure none of them fall, because I have been digging through them to make sure that I can provide specific examples of why these are the books that I think have helped me triple my income. So the first book is The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs. This was one of the first business books that I learned about from. I was in a program, and the person who hosted that program, and a brilliant businesswoman who has become a multi-millionaire, basically had this book as recommended reading in that particular program. And it was one of the best. It's one of the most eye-opening books I've ever read. And here is why. Number one, he drives home the point that as entrepreneurs, we should have a morning routine that keeps us motivated. I actually teach a little bit about this in the Ready, Set, Go Consult membership. If you don't know about the membership, again, it's readysetgoconsult.com. And we talk a little bit about morning routines. This is the book that helped me understand the importance of a morning routine and sticking with it. I read this book in 2020, and here we are 4 years later. I am still doing the things that he recommended in this book. So according to him, having a morning routine, and I wouldn't say according to him, according to the book, but also use me as an example of a person who believes in this, because I've actually achieved this, having a morning routine, and I'm going to describe the specific morning routine that he suggests, makes you more proactive, makes you more productive, helps you anticipate problems. It gives you more energy. You have more energy. And here's the reason why. In his book, he talks about something called the SAVERS. And the SAVERS is an acronym for silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and S for scribing, right? Which is, of course, writing. So imagine you start out every day with a little bit of silence, just to really set your intention, clear your head, think about what you're trying to accomplish, maybe even meditate. So maybe you're not even really thinking about what you're trying to accomplish. I have not meditated yet, y'all. I've tried, but I'm just giving you an example of what silence could be. Silence could be prayer. Silence could be whatever that means to you. It could be just sitting and listening to the birds outside and just really being present with the sounds that you hear around you. Just starting that day, instead of reaching for your phone or reaching for your laptop, is going to be more fortifying, right? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It's going to be more fortifying than getting up and reaching for your phone, unless you're just using your phone to turn off your alarm because you have an alarm on your phone. A is for affirmations. Now imagine starting your day with whatever affirmations are the most, I would say, I'm going to use the word fulfilling again. And he actually gives some really good examples of some affirmations one can say, some more concrete, realistic affirmations one could say. So how about where I am as a result of who I was, but where I go depends entirely on who I choose to be starting today. Or I see Dan Kennedy is an old school marketing business master. He wrote No BS Wealth Attraction in the New Economy. I'm gonna have to read that. Jay Abraham wrote Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got. I think I'm gonna definitely check that out. Thank you, Astra. I appreciate it. So basically, just want to make sure you are aware of what the savers stand for. V is visualization. I've actually done a whole podcast episode. For those of you who don't know, I do have a podcast called the Age Has No Limit podcast. I did a whole episode on visualization. I've participated in visualization exercises, and it is not woo-woo. It literally is thinking about something that you just imagining just imagining something that is but it's intentional imagination, if you want to call it that. I've actually participated in a few of those. So imagine, hey, you have 2 sales calls today. Imagine or visualize that your sales call go as well as planned. You are able to sell your services to those 2 particular prospects. You're kind of thinking, that's just a not so great example, but I'm just giving an example of how one can use visualization and set your intention for that day. E is for exercise. Obviously, one can understand why you're moving your body, whether it's yoga, stretching, regular stretching, or working out in the mornings is absolutely beneficial. R is for reading. So I told you all, I read 2 or 3 books at a time because they typically are complementary. And I'll give you an example today of 2 books that I read over time, over like a 2-year span. And they were very much complementary. And I read them every single day, reread certain sections, highlighted. I was basically studying those books. I needed to change my mind. And I knew the only way I could change it was by reading these things over and over and over again, because I needed to change old habits, old way of thinking. And so I just wanted to give you guys an example why I read 2 books at a time. So R is for reading and S is for scribing. I also write almost every day. And that's me writing down my thoughts, my intention for the day, some of the things I want to achieve in the future, things I want to achieve that day. Actually, I've had one of the good things about writing is that I've actually developed a few methods, right? So there are a couple of methods that I use in my businesses that I've actually developed as a result of just really thinking through something I was having a challenge with. And literally, inspiration would come to me and I would literally think through that, as a diagram, how one would illustrate this new method, and how that method could be applied to help someone else. So, those savers are amazing. Highly recommend The Miracle Morning for entrepreneurs. So the next book you all have probably heard of. I know y'all, you can probably even say it with me. I know before you know what the book is. It's this one. Think and Grow Rich, right? It's on almost everyone's list for a reason. This book, I believe, was written in the 1930s, and the name of the author is Napoleon Hill. And I don't even know what to say. I don't even know where to begin. I do have my notes, but if y'all look in here, if y'all can see all these highlights, let me see I have so many sections in this book highlighted, pink highlights, yellow highlights, because this book helped me change my thinking. So here's why. Number one, it teaches you that you have power over your thoughts. Think about the way that maybe you operated before you became an entrepreneur. And I use that entrepreneur as sort of like that cutoff, because I believe when one becomes an entrepreneur, you have to start thinking in a way that keeps you propelled, motivated, and just on point every day. And so in order to do that, you're doing a little bit more digging, you're doing a little bit more introspection. There's more introspection in the way you do things. And anyway, so I just thought that's, and as a result of being an entrepreneur, I'm thinking all the time about how to be a good business person, but also how being a good business person will require me to be, of course, a more profitable business person, a business person that brings in more revenue, a business person that thinks more strategically, in general, a business person that thinks more about how to price my services. How does my pricing affect or reflect the way I think about my value, right? And so a lot of thinking, right? And so it teaches you again that you have power over your thoughts. And when they say think and grow rich, it does not mean what some people think, that you just think and money just comes out of thin air. Absolutely not. It just really helps you understand that a lot of your success starts with your thoughts. Okay. Now, I do want to make sure I gave you some examples of some of the chapters, which I think will be really, really important. So some of the chapters, I'm just going to list almost all the chapters. So it starts with desire. In other words, you have to have a certain desire of something that you want to accomplish and be very clear about your desire. Then the next chapter is faith, and then auto suggestion. That chapter, I read that chapter, I'm sure about 20 times, if not more. Specialized knowledge. We are consultants, right? We have specialized knowledge, and that chapter is really about understanding how your specialized knowledge is a key to wealth. Because if you have that specialized knowledge and there's a market out there and you know how to speak to them, first of all, you know how to find them, you know how to speak to them, you know how to convert them, then you can really, again, there is no cap on what you can accomplish, especially if you go in already thinking about what you want to accomplish. Okay. Dennis Kimbrough, Think and Grow Rich, The Black Choice. He partnered with Napoleon Hill Foundation to write that book. I knew there was another. Thank you so much. I'm going to look that up as well. I knew there was, like, for a long time, I thought Napoleon Hill, the name Napoleon Hill. I was like, is that a Black man? But it's not. But I knew I'd heard about another book. And for some time, I kept kind of I just kept thinking that was the book, when in fact this was the one that I'd heard about for many, many years. But I'd also heard about that other one. I got to tell you, there's also the chapter on imagination, which is really, really good, and organized planning. Going back to the point that he doesn't mean think and things will happen automatically and you'll grow rich. Absolutely not. He's basically breaking it down. Organized planning, the next chapter is on decision, the next chapter is on persistence, then the power of the mastermind. So you guys have heard about all these masterminds popping up all over the place. There is really truth in power of a mastermind. I've been in a few masterminds, and it's only one. That particular mastermind truly, truly elevated my business, because I'm surrounded by people who have achieved what I want to achieve. These were multi-millionaires, right? Or early stage millionaires, or people that were on their way as well, right? So being in that room, hearing them talk about the way they see business, some of the things they plan on doing, the workshop they're about to host in Japan. When you're around that kind of energy, you think the world is your oyster, right? And so you're not thinking in a limited way anymore. Now you're thinking, wow, I could do this, I could do that, because you're hearing from people who are doing amazing things. And now there's no cap on your imagination of what you can accomplish yourself in your business. All right, then the mystery of sex transmutation, which I read 1 or 2 times. I was trying to see how I could make that work for me, but there's some truth to it. I couldn't get into it, right? But then the subconscious mind was an amazing chapter. So this book, I read this book for about 2 years straight. I would, as a part of my savers, this was the book that I read. This and another book I read for 2 years straight. I do want to read a little quote here that I think is really important to kind of illustrate some of the things that one can get from this book. And it is from the chapter on the subconscious mind. You can see that I highlighted it. But it says, remember, your subconscious mind functions voluntarily, whether you want any effort to influence it or not. So if you're thinking negative thoughts, right? Because your thoughts are different from your subconscious mind. But if your subconscious is sort of like basically, if your subconscious mind is informed by negative thoughts and just negative thinking, negativity, then, unfortunately, that's what's going to materialize in your life. This naturally suggests to you that thoughts of fear and poverty and all negative thoughts, y'all, are stimuli for your subconscious mind, unless you master these impulses and give it more desirable food upon which it may feed. So this was a big deal for me because I used to be one of those people. I always expected the worst. I wasn't negative. I'm a glass half full kind of gal. I've said it everywhere. I will continue to say it. I believe the glass is half full, but I would always think, okay, what could go wrong? And as a result, bottom line is I learned over time to get rid of those thoughts and always think about what could go right. There we go. So there's a lot of other page six, things in here that are highlighted. I won't bore you all with that, but definitely this is on my list for a reason. Now, the third book y'all have heard of as well. And part of the reason why some of these books keep showing up on the list is because they really do help people change the way that they, construct their lives. Helps them change the way they think. It helps them, again, think bigger. And then not even just think bigger, help them develop practical steps to be able to achieve bigger. And as a result, the next book is Atomic Habits. And so this book, especially the section on making sure that your environment facilitates those new habits, was just it really, really changed a lot for me. Haven't read it in some time, but it's highlighted too. But basically, this book is about how to build better habits. It sounds kind of corny, sounds kind of ethereal, doesn't even really sound like you can do much with it. But it's on a lot of top lists for a reason. Basically, the idea is that you can become the person you want to become by, first of all, changing the beliefs you have about yourself, and also changing the habits, right? So that you can get to become that person you want to come. I think that's not the best. I'm not doing it I really think that I'm not I'm not really doing it. What's the word? I'm kind of doing it a disservice. But as I said before, that whole chapter on setting up your environment for better habits, let me give you an example. So if you want to drink more water every day, I'm just giving you probably a very, very simple example. How about having a bottle of water in your bathroom, a bottle of water on your dining table that you're walking past every day, and maybe a bottle of water on your desk? Just having the water bottles there will definitely encourage you to drink more water because they're readily available. You're seeing them, and therefore you're not, like I'm doing today, going for almost a whole full day without drinking any water, y'all. That's not good. But I'm just giving you an example of how one can set up their environment to be able to actually achieve, to be able to have better habits. So there's a lot that's covered in here. Again, I'm not doing I'm doing it a disservice. But he does break it down. I also love that he has quite a few methods, right? This is the whole thing where he talks about habit stacking, how you can stack habits. I actually started stacking habits. So let me give you an example. I knew I wanted to do my sabers in the morning. So what did I do? I made sure that I made sure that the books I wanted to read were on the table where I typically go to do my reading. I had a bottle of water right across from me so that as I was reading, my water was across from me. And so that's an example of habit stacking. You're doing one thing which will trigger the other thing. It's a great book. I'm still coming up to the book that's a surprise. I think it'll be a surprise for a lot of people. Now, this other book is on a lot of lists as well, and there's a reason why. And I actually need to reread this book because it was amazing, and it really helped me understand people more. When you have a team, which I now have, as you all know, you really need to find ways to keep your team motivated. Now, as I said before, I'm a glass half full person, and therefore that glass half full attitude and approach to life shows up in the way that I lead my team. I'm a cheerleader, but I'm also a person that's very task oriented. Also becoming much more better. I'm becoming a better strategist, but you also want to be able to keep your team encouraged. You want them to want to do better, and so there are ways that you go about doing that. And I want to read this book again. I can't find my other copy that has all the highlights, so I had to buy a new copy, and I'm gonna have to read it again. And that book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's also great for sales. Like if you obviously as a business owner, you're gonna have sales calls, and so there are gonna be instances where you are able to communicate so much better. It's a much more intentional, authentic communication that comes as a result of really helping, understanding what people want, what drives them, and ways to kind of tap into that. Again, I think I really, really love this book. What I also love about the book is that it has a lot of stories. He tells a lot of stories to make each point. So, as I said before, great book for managing a team. So, some of the examples of the sections that he has in the book. So, he has the books divided into several sections. So, he may have like 4 chapters on the fundamental techniques and handling people. Another 4 chapters in 6 ways to make people like you. It is not that whole section on 6 ways to make people like you is not about it's not about being a people pleaser. We're not into that, right? It's just things like not criticizing people, right? Using encouragement and using all these different things rather than telling people what they need to be doing, making them want to do the right thing. So it's really just other ways to appeal to people, and also, again, not doing the best job here describing it, but making sure that it is something that you're appealing to people's desire to want to feel like they're right, desire to not feel like they're being accused of something, desire to not be criticized, right? If you learn how to get people to see the other side of other side of some of these ways of handling situations, then you're likely to get people to you're actually going to be able to win friends and influence people. And then there's a whole section on how to win people to your way of thinking. I did actually have a little rabbit ear here, that I think is really important. It says criticism is futile because it puts a person on the defensive and usually makes them strive to justify themselves. Now, I'm sure many of us can identify with this and understand that criticism is dangerous because it wounds a person's precious pride, hurts his sense of importance, and arouses resentment. I'm at the very beginning of the book again, but he actually gives the example of like Al Capone, and Two Gun Crowley and all these like notorious criminals, and how they didn't see themselves as criminals. They actually saw themselves as good people that just happened to be, under attack by police for whatever reason they were able to justify in their heads. And the point he's making is that if you have two hardened criminals that done killed a whole bunch of people, not see themselves as criminals, imagine trying to convince your coworker, imagine trying to convince your executive assistant or whoever that, he or she did something wrong through criticism. It's best to go ahead and try to address the problem in a more productive way, so that you're not actually hurting that person's sense of pride, as he says, and you're able to actually get them to do what you want them to do by dealing with another way. So excellent book. So this other book is a new hit. It came out a couple of years ago, and this was a book that I read. I read these 2 books together, and when I put them up, y'all see it, right? I already told you about Think and Grow Rich. Now I'm going to tell you about this other book, We Should All Be Millionaires. And this book is by Rachel Rodgers. Rachel Rodgers, you all can read about her, but I'm going to give you a little backstory about her life. Rachel Rodgers, as she admits in this book, grew up, struggling. She had a struggling family. I believe one of her parents had, her own challenges. And she talks about all these stories she had as a girl growing up, poor, going on field trips, scrounging together quarters so she can feel like she's shopping, just all the shame she felt around poverty. And as a result, and not even just shame around being around poverty, she also said she had a 400 credit score, and just a lot of things as it relates to her life. She also, because she was an attorney, does excellent research about the things that disempowered people have to experience and why they tend to be poor. So she talks about the fact that women couldn't get loans until, I believe, to 1970s. They had to have a man co-sign. She talks about, of course, what a woman can earn versus what a man can earn, not to demonize men, but just to put out the facts. The facts are the facts. Um, and her job, she says her mission is to make sure that historically excluded people have access to millions. And she was saying, in order to really affect the change you want, you can march all day, but until you can write a $50,000 check or $150,000 check, because you're wealthy, it's gonna, it's the change isn't gonna come about as quickly. Now, does the check affect change? No, but the check can be, directed to an organization that is working towards the change you want. And so she talks a lot also about expansion. So there are a lot of money and financial gurus that talk about making sure you don't buy your lattes, save your money, don't spend money on a $6 latte. She's like, bump that. Find ways to bring in $1,000 more. So she's always thinking in terms of expansion, not ways to reduce or deduce, right? Find ways to actually expand ways to bring in money. So if you are employed, what are some side hustles you can bring in? If you have a business, what is a new service you can launch to bring in more money? If you have a service, if you have several services, what service can you create or maximize so that, or how can you structure the payment so that instead of people paying you 10,000 a month over 12 months, you say, hey, I can do this for you. So, but I require, 50,000 up front, right? So she's always thinking of really brilliant ways to maximize the money that you bring in. And she also talks a lot about our mindset. She has something in here that I'm not even going to reveal because I want you all to read it and see it for yourself, about the way that one thinks about money and how it can change your life. So I was reading this and this together for 2 whole years. So when I say I was working on changing my mindset, y'all, I really was, because for like a lot of us, at least in my age group, you grew up thinking that, your earning potential is what you could earn in your salary. You grew up thinking that you needed to buy the house and have 2 cars and you should be satisfied with that. And so changing your mindset to go beyond just that very limited existence takes time to change. So great book. Also, okay, let me see. Both great books. Let me see what. Absolutely, absolutely. So y'all, highly recommend this book. Okay. I know a couple of men that read this book as well. Don't think it's just for women. It is a fantastic book. Again, we should all be millionaires, a woman's guide to earning more, building wealth, and gaining economic power. One of the things I don't talk a lot about on here, because I have very strong opinions about certain things, is that I believe that we're doing a lot of marching, but until we can write more checks as a community, I really, really believe in economic development, so much so that one of my goals, and I'm going to go ahead and share it with you guys right now. I have no problem sharing it because I will accomplish that goal. One of my goals, and one of the reasons I'm in business, I may have shared it before, but I'm sharing with you all now, is to start a youth business incubator. For young people in the country I'm from. I've already told you guys I'm an immigrant. My goal is to start a youth incubator in my country, my home country. I'm from Jamaica. And so that is something I will accomplish. That's one of the 2 things I will accomplish. And so I believe that a lot of young people, if they had a structured way to approach entrepreneurship, a lot of these brilliant young minds can be the next Steve Jobs or the next whoever, right? The next what's that man's name? I wish I remember his name. I don't want to always quote. I don't only want to cite Jobs, right? Because who else? I can't remember that man's name. But bottom line is, we've got a lot of brilliant young people, and sometimes they start businesses and they do well, right? But imagine how much more they can accomplish if they had a structured business incubator to help them get to the next level, or whatever level they want to get to, that much faster, because they're doing it in a structured way, an informed way. They're not, you know what I mean? So that is something I'm passionate about, and I really, really, really want to do that. Hey there, Dolores Tyler Brown. It's nice hearing from you again. Just in case you missed my other books, I'm gonna go through that right now. Just in case y'all missed it, I said my very first book was The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs. Definitely check that out. I gave the reasons why. The second book I cited was, I think it was Think and Grow Rich, and we know why. Again, right? Extremely, extremely important book. As I said before, it's not think and all of a sudden you're going to grow rich. It's understanding that your thoughts have a lot of impact, and we need to be more in control of our thoughts. The third book I cited was Atomic Habits. The fourth book I've already talked about is We Should All Be Millionaires. Here, and I also talked about How to Win Friends and Influence People. Here is the sixth book. And the reason why this book is on my list is going to blow y'all's mind, but it may or may not. I also have a bonus book I'm going to show y'all. This book, I'm going to tell you why this book changed my life first. So when you start a business, right, you go from, and for those of you who are entrepreneurs, if you're not an entrepreneur yet, I'm giving you some tips on what you may experience when you transition from being an employee to an entrepreneur. When you become an entrepreneur, not only are you figuring out what you're going to sell, who you're going to sell it to, you're thinking about how you're going to do the selling. Because as an employee, you're not selling your company's services. They have a whole marketing department for that, or a sales department for that, right? You may have to sell an idea to your manager. You've got to manage your manager. You got to maybe sell an idea to your coworkers. Maybe if you have direct reports, you have to make sure, in other words, so you're constantly having to navigate certain relationships to get what you want out of those relationships, or to get what you want out of that team, right? If you have a team, there are things you have to do to manage your team to make sure that you achieve the goals that you all need to achieve together. However, selling your business, and really thinking through selling your services requires some, at least for me, it required me to really think about how I want to present myself to the person that I'm speaking to through Zoom, right? And so this book, The Alter Ego Effect, was life-changing for me. And the reason it was life-changing is because, and it's called The Alter Ego Effect, The Power of Secret Identities to Transform Your Life. Now, you all may not know this, but there are a lot of athletes that have alter egos. They have alter egos for a reason, because maybe at home they are introverts that like to sit in a corner and read, but they got to be a beast on the court, right? Maybe at home, they are whatever. Maybe they're shy, but they know they've got to come out because people paid $250 for their concert ticket, so they got to come out and be a beast on the stage. And so some people literally develop alter egos. So whether they are top athletes, right, or whether they are top entertainers, or they're top business people, they literally hire people to help them develop alter egos so they can accomplish the goals, because it helps them sort of come out of themselves, be bigger than themselves, and bigger than with the way they perceive themselves, and actually present themselves to the world in a way that's going to be more beneficial for them, for their business, for their performance, whatever it is. So I decided I was going to take on the alter ego of a woman who I highly respect. And I don't remember her name now. It's a shame. But I decided to take on her alter ego. Every time I would have early sales calls, I would literally say, okay, I'm about to become you. Because the reason why I decided to use this woman as my alter ego, and I wish I could remember her name. This is a shame. I don't need to use it anymore, but I did one in my first 1 to 2 years of my business, was because I knew I needed to calibrate the conversation at each sales call. I needed to kind of control that conversation, be calibrated, be thoughtful, be methodical. My delivery needed to be confident, calm, all the things, so that I could land that sale. As you all can see, I'm animated, I'm loud, I'm all the things, and that may be great for certain kinds of conversations. But if I'm trying to convince someone to award my company $100,000 contract, or whatever the case may be, there's a certain way you want to handle that call. This is the book that helped me really think through. This is the book that really helped me think through. The person who wrote Atomic Habits, by the way, is James Clear. Okay. But yeah, the alter ego effect. I'm going to try to find a couple of areas in here that I highlighted, assuming I highlighted in this book. Oh yeah, here we go. He talks about where he says there's a world where you feel like the real you is trapped. That is definitely me, right? It says the you that has aspirations, dreams, and goals that aren't being actualized, they aren't getting out onto the field of play. So I also want to point out this man was also like a top trainer for top athletes, like the top athletes. And so he typically, and he puts a lot of things using like sports as the, to kind of lay out the examples that he wants to make. But yeah, this book, it's number 6 for a reason. It helped to change my life. It's not on a lot of people's lists, but if there is some area in your life where you want to really make change and make change quickly, and if you think, developing I wouldn't even say an alter ego. It doesn't have to be the whole separate alter ego. But if you think finding someone who you admire and then replicating that person's behavior in speech or speech or something else that you admire that would work for you, this is a great book to help you understand how to do that. So that's my 6th book. I do have a bonus book. Anybody else want to share some any other books? I see that Yo Astro shared Dan Kennedy. Definitely going to look into that. I've never read, like I said, Dr. Golden's books or Jay Abraham's book. He says there's no BS wealth attraction in the new economy. I'm definitely going to get that. So anything else before I go to my bonus book? And a lot of people have not heard about this book. I happened to hear about it on a call one day. And so I decided to order it, and I read this thing almost every day as well. Any books that you all want to share, I would love to hear why, some of your other books. While I'm doing that, I'm going to look down and see if there's a particular area in this book that really, really, a part of this book that made me think, you know what, I need to go ahead and develop an alter ego, because again, I don't need to do that now, but I do have to say that for those people who wonder, why some people feel confident enough to come on YouTube, again, you're just playing a video. To me, it's no big deal, but there are people that are like, I would never go on YouTube. I would never do all these things. I would never speak in front of an audience. A lot of people who are public speakers use alter egos because that's what helps them get on the stage and kick butt on stage. So for those of you who, part of the reason I have been able to, again, really grow the business is because of these 6 books, because they took me out of my head and took me out of my limited thinking, I got to go to work, put my head down, get my little 3% increase, go home, be a mom kind of lifestyle. My children are older now. I now have my own business. I can't think the same way because I won't grow. In order to grow, you have to change the way you think. And the only way to change your way to think, the way you think, is to really expose yourself to different ideas, to bigger ideas. All great books. Thanks for sharing them, Patrice, because you're the consultant in this. I think you will like The Wealthy Consulting Confessions of a 9-Figure Advisor by Taylor A. Welch. I think I will look into that. Thank you so much. Haven't heard about that one. Confessions of a 9-Figure Advisor. I'm going to definitely look into that. So Yo Astro's always coming with some game, and I really appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it, Yo Astro. So I'm going to go into my bonus book, y'all. And I don't know what y'all are going to think about it, but it's my bonus book, and you all can decide whether you want to read it or not. So there is this bottom line. I was listening to this person. She's a brilliant business person, very successful woman, and she happened to mention very casually, I read this book by so and so and so. I picked up on it immediately and decided to Google it and ordered it immediately. And that book is A Happy Pocket Full of Money, Infinite Wealth and Abundance in the Here and Now. Now, for those of you who are like, okay, I'm not into the abundance and the infinite, trust and believe. This is not, again, one of those books where, people say, okay, you just think it and it happens. This book really helps with so much, as you can see. And I'm not going to show you all this right now, but there are a lot of highlights, a lot of rabbit ears in this book, because what he forces you to do is really think about ways to become who you want to be. And I'm going to leave it at that because I don't think I would do any justice to that book. I have to say the author's name is David Cameron Gikandi. And I believe he was one of the co-authors of the book, The Secret. The way he writes, to me, some of the chapters are a little bit difficult to follow because of the flow. It's written well, but you can tell there are just some things that I found a little odd as I was reading in terms of the flow. But I've read it before. I'm reading it again, and a lot of it makes a lot more sense to me now. But yeah, I highly recommend this book for those of you who um, just may need to do as much work as I did to change my thinking about what I can actually accomplish, and give me a bigger vision and help me develop a bigger vision of what I'm of who I am, what I can accomplish, so that I can at least reach that goal. It all starts with the vision. It starts with the thought in my mind. You don't just automatically get there. Some people are lucky and they just get there because maybe they found something, that, is widely accepted around the world and they can sell it. And, we think about some people that just get like unbelievably successful. I don't know what he or she does to get to that point. I know that for me, it starts with having a bigger vision and really thinking bigger so that I can achieve bigger than what I've been taught I should be doing in my life. Okay. All right. I love those books, Yo Astro. Thank you so much. I'm going to save the chat definitely so that I can see some of the read some of those books. Anybody else have any other thoughts about any of the books? Drop them in the comments section below. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. So next week, let me see what I'm talking about next week. But I don't, let me see if I have that. Well, whatever it is, it's a topic that I think will be beneficial. Hopefully you guys will join me so that we can explore it together. And again, drop some other book recommendations. I love to read, and I'm always up for a good book. All right. Thank you all for joining me. And hopefully you guys I've shared some books that you'll decide that you want to read and explore. I want to remind you that a lot of these books in probably the next day will be linked below in the description so that you can easily order them there. All of Grant Cardone's books are great. And John Maxwell. Oh yeah. John Maxwell books on leadership are amazing. Did you read his book? Is it John Maxwell that wrote the book about what is oh God, maybe it's the end of day, my end of day thinking. But yeah, you're absolutely right about John Maxwell's books and Grant Cardone's books. I haven't read them yet. I feel like I still need to work on the mind, right? As you can tell by the books that I've read. And so I'll definitely probably get to that next level. I don't know enough about Grant Cardone's books. I don't know how much of it is real estate focused because I know he's in the real estate space. Very, 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 very successful. I've heard him speak, not live. So he definitely knows his stuff. Highly confident guy. Really, really like his energy. Yes, there's some controversy right now, but I don't know all the details, so I'm not going to come to any conclusions. But definitely has become successful, and he's and so when you get to that level of success, considering where he started, he must know a thing or two, right? And so I'm sure there's a lot I can learn. All right. Well, you all have a wonderful night. Thanks for hanging out with me, and hope you like some of the books that I have. All right. Good night.